contestant number 1, Scott Brown. The Gap. The Gap. Scott Brown.
Catherine Schultz once famously said, "The miracle isn't that we can see things as they are, it's that we can see things as they aren't." It's that gap between reality and perception that so clearly dictates the quality of the relationships we have with other people. Because we're always going to mess up. It's part of being human. But what we do when we mess up determines how we span that gap. So when was the last time you said, "I'm sorry"? When was the last time you meant it? When was the last time you asked for forgiveness? And when was the last time you accepted it? Madam Contest Chair, my fellow Toastmasters, and everyone that has ever messed up, I'm not quite sure how I became a Little League coach. The last thing I remember, I was walking to my car. My friend's wife walked past me. She turned, smiled, and in that southern charm, she said, "Thank you so much for agreeing to coach the boys this year. Spike and John are looking so forward to helping you. And the boys are so excited you're going to be their coach." What? I had just been voluntold. You know, that act of volunteering someone to do the thing you don't want to do yourself but you know needs done. Oh, the boys were excited, so I couldn't say no. A week later, I found myself at our first game. And what should have been the highlight of the season showed just how far we had to go. It was the third inning, and I looked out and realized I don't have a left fielder. Time out, Blue. Marco, stand up. Marco, stand up. Yes, I know it's fun to make snow angels in the grass. It tickles, you're right. But we're in the middle of a game, you gotta stand up. Marco, sit down. Where are your pants? I was so embarrassed. When the game was over, all I could do was to apologize. I'm so sorry. That won't happen again. I was wrong, but I apologized. When we apologize, all too often, we're not apologizing because we messed up. We're apologizing because we're embarrassed. Because we feel bad that someone else is going through something and we have empathy for them. When what we should be doing is only apologizing for those things that we wish we could fix. On July 9th, 1989, I woke up at the crack of noon, drove to my best friend's house, and picked Sammy up to take him back to college for summer school. Now, we weren't going to summer school because we wanted to. We were going to summer school because we had to. And I had been at Sammy's house a dozen times that year, but this time, as we were leaving, his mom turned to me, grabbed my hand, looked me in the eye, and said, "Take care of my baby, please." When we got back to school that night, the fog coming off the Clarion River was so thick you could taste it. I couldn't see my hands in front of my face, but Sammy had fireworks left over from the 4th of July, so we had to go light them off. And there was no better place to light them off than from on top the trestle that spanned the Clarion River. I remember so much about that night. I remember the giddiness in Sammy's voice as he laughed, walking out on the girder every time he bent over and lit off an M80 and then ran back to get another one. I remember the gasp he made when he misjudged the edge and accidentally went over the edge. I remember the thud he made when he hit the water 275 feet below. At the funeral, I was beside myself. And I walked up to Sammy's mom, kneeled down, grabbed her hand and begged, "I am so sorry. Please forgive me." And in that moment, she did something I couldn't understand. She grabbed my head and held it and said, "It's okay. I forgive you. It wasn't your fault." And those words, they should have liberated both of us from a lifetime of pain and regret. But even though Sammy's mom forgave me, I never learned to forgive myself. I thought I should have known better. Well, I should have known better also than to take over a bunch of 10-year-olds that hadn't won a game in 3 years. And that 0-12 season, that record didn't dictate the level of our ineptitude. I could have walked away and blamed myself for us losing, but the parents grabbed my hand and said, "You've got to come back. No one else will do this job." So I did. And 4 years later,